The sky was calm when the shadow appeared over the colony world. At first the people thought it was only a storm cloud drifting across the pale orange sun, but then the air itself began to glow with a strange green shimmer that stretched from horizon to horizon and moved like a slow ocean wave across the atmosphere. Ships in orbit sounded alarms, and every warning system screamed with the same message: unknown substance detected, extreme toxicity, lethal to all known life. Across the colony, panic broke out. Families grabbed their children and rushed indoors, but the mist did not stop at the doors. It seeped through vents, through cracks, through every opening like it was alive. People coughed, some cried, and some prayed because everyone knew. The name whispered in every alien war story: the planet killer toxin. No world had ever survived its touch in orbit. The alien assassins watched from their black ships, their long, thin faces expressionless as they listened to their instruments each. A tone told them the same thing: contamination, complete life readings collapsing. They nodded to one another, convinced their plan was perfect. Another human world erased without firing a single shot. But on the surface, something was wrong. Colonist Mara Vey staggered out of her shelter, clutching her throat, eyes watering. She coughed hard, then spat to the ground. Her neighbors thought she would collapse, but instead she laughed, a sharp, choking laugh that turned into a smile. She raised her head against the glowing air and shouted, "This stuff burns like the soup my grandmother used to make." Others emerged, some coughing, some sneezing, some with tears in their eyes. But they were not dying. Instead, one worker pulled out a canteen and tasted the green. Droplets gathered on the rim. He winced, then said, "Tastes spicy, very spicy." The fear began to fade, confusion replacing it. In orbit, the alien commander narrowed his black eyes. Sensors showed the colony still active, human life signs. "Strong," he demanded. A rescan, then a third, then a fourth. Each time the answer came back the same. The toxin was there, the concentration high enough to kill 10 billion, but the humans were alive. They were even walking around outside. On the ground, laughter spread through the colony like fire in dry grass. Someone set up a table in the central plaza and placed bowls on it. Rain collectors filled them with shimmering drops, and people came forward, curious, daring, tasting the burning liquid. Some cried out at the heat. On their tongues, others grinned like children discovering candy. The name came quickly, whispered first, then shouted, "Spicy soup." By nightfall, the entire colony was outside, despite the shimmering fog still hanging heavy in the air. Bonfires burned. Through the mist, people sang, children dared each other to drink larger gulps. Everyone coughed, everyone's eyes watered, but no one died. Instead, the fear of death became a joke. The alien assassins sent spies to land silently on the surface, cloaked. In shadows, they crept through alleys, expecting to find corpses. Instead, they saw markets forming, merchants selling bottled mist as novelty, drink street cooks ladling bowls of the so-called spicy soup into long lines of laughing humans. What was meant to be death had become a celebration. One spy recorded a group of soldiers seated around a fire eating rations. They had poured the glowing liquid into their stews. Each soldier coughed between bites, but each one kept eating. One soldier raised his spoon to the sky and said to the stars and to the assassins who think they scare us, "Thanks for the soup." Everyone laughed hard, echoing through the mist. When the footage reached the Alien War Council, silence filled the chamber. Commanders shifted. In their seats, faces pale, eyes wide, they replayed the video again and again. The toxin that was supposed to melt lungs and end worlds had become a seasoning. One council member whispered, "If their bodies resist poison, then what weapon is left?" Another answered, "It is not resistance. It is something else, something darker." Meanwhile, on the colony, doctors tested blood samples. What they found shocked them. The toxin was shredding human cells exactly as designed, but the body responded by rebuilding. Faster, stronger, adapting within hours. Every human showed changes. Their immune systems had evolved in real time. They were not immune, but they refused to break. That night, Mara Vey looked at the stars from her rooftop. She remembered the first choking burn in her lungs. She remembered the terror she thought would end her life. Now she breathed deeply in the green mist and felt only fire warming her chest. She whispered, "Let them try again." The alien commander in orbit stared at the sensor readouts that stubbornly refused to show collapse. He thought of all the centuries spent designing the perfect poison, all the tests on weaker species that had died screaming within seconds. And then he looked at the humans, laughing, singing, drinking his greatest weapon like soup. He gave one order: retreat for now. The ships turned and slid back into deep space, vanishing like knives into the dark. But the toxin did not vanish. It lingered across the colony world, painting the skies green for weeks. Harvesters collected it in vats. Children played in glowing puddles. Farmers used it as fertilizer. Crops grew stronger, tastier. Even livestock thrived. The death mist had become life itself. Word spread beyond the colony. Stories carried on trade ships, whispers that humans drank poison and lived tales of warriors who laughed at death itself. Enemies listened with growing dread. Allies listened with wonder. The legend of the spicy soup began. Yet deep in the void, the assassins plotted again. They could not accept this humiliation. They would make new toxins, deadlier, sharper, crafted with every ounce of science and hatred. But already they feared that no matter what they made, the humans would taste it, cough, laugh, and turn it into dinner. And on the colony, under the green sky, Mara Vey lifted her bowl high and shouted to the stars, "Another sip for our enemies. Thank you for the spice." The crowd roared with laughter, the sound rising through the mist, defiant, unbroken, unstoppable. The War Council chamber was silent when the first transmission arrived, a grainy recording pulled from the assassin spy's visor. It showed humans in the poisoned colony sitting together on cracked stone steps, green mist rolling across the ground. They were laughing, coughing, eating their rations with glowing droplets poured over the top. One soldier lifted his bowl to the sky and said, "This tastes like spicy soup." The council replayed the words again and again, as if repeating them would change their meaning. The alien commander sat stiff in his chair, his long fingers tapping the metal armrest. He had prepared to report total annihilation of the colony. Instead, he was forced to admit the impossible. The humans had survived. The humans had adapted. The humans had mocked their most perfect weapon. Whispers filled the room, words like abomination, mutation, trick. None of them dared speak the truth aloud, that maybe the humans were something else entirely. Across the poisoned world, life carried on in ways no one could have predicted. Mara Vey woke early in the morning to the sound of children laughing outside. They ran through the glowing mist, kicking it up like fog. Their eyes watered, their faces red, but none of them slowed down. A few merchants set up stalls at the plaza, selling glowing bottles labeled spicy soup to eager buyers. Some joked about exporting it to nearby colonies. Others said it could become the next big human drink at night. The plaza became crowded, fires burning bright against the green air. Storytellers shouted tales of the day. The assassins tried to kill them, and instead gave them a feast. The colony governor tried to warn people that the toxin was still dangerous, that the science was not understood, but the people did not listen for them. Fear had been replaced with pride, the pride of being human, far above the planet. The assassin fleet remained cloaked, silent, and watchful. One ship launched another probe into the atmosphere. The readings were consistent, lethal. Concentration levels, unchanged. Exposure should kill any living thing within minutes. Yet human life signs only grew stronger. Even plant and animal life on the planet was mutating into hardier forms. Every calculation, every prediction was failing. Alien commander paced in his chamber. He remembered the years of preparation, the cost, the secrecy, the countless trials on other species. Entire worlds had been wiped out in moments, their bodies crumbling to dust. But here, on this single human colony, nothing was working. He ordered his spies to go deeper to infiltrate the colony and find the truth. The spies crept through shadows, wearing cloaks that bent the light around them. They entered homes, they stole samples, they recorded every cough and laugh, but what they saw only deepened their fear. A family sitting together at a dinner table, the father lifting a steaming bowl to his lips, green drops sizzling in the broth. He coughed until tears streamed down his cheeks, but then he smiled and said, "Perfect spice." The children clapped their hands and took their own gulps, coughing and laughing together as though the poison was part of a game. Another spy found soldiers drilling outside in the mist, sweat pouring down their faces, throats raw from coughing, but their voices never broke. They marched, they trained, they ate their rations drenched in the toxin, and when they collapsed, they rose again. Moments later, tougher, stronger, their endurance growing by the hour, one commander barked to his men, "This mist is not death, it is training fuel." When these recordings reached the War Council, panic turned into something colder, fear mixed with respect. The humans were not only surviving, they were thriving. The poison was no longer a weapon, it had become a tool of their evolution. The galaxy was listening. Whispers spread faster than fleet's traders told the tale in every port. Humans eat poison and laugh. Merchants repeated it on distant worlds. Humans drink death and call it soup. Scholars debated in cold halls. Some argued it was impossible. Others said it was proof that humans had always been different. Rumors reached even the most distant empires. If the humans could survive poison, then what else could they survive? Meanwhile, in the colony, the celebration grew. Mara Vey joined the crowds. At night, torches blazing against the green sky, musicians played songs, mixing coughs with drums. The air was thick with the strange burning taste, and people lifted bowls in toasts to the assassins who had given them spice instead of death. Mara raised her own bowl high and shouted, "Thank you for the flavor." Her words echoed across the plaza, and thousands roared with laughter. But not all laughter hid the truth. Some scientists still studied samples in hidden labs. What they discovered made their hearts race. The toxin was not harmless. It was attacking human cells with ruthless precision. Lungs, throat, stomach. Every system was under siege. Yet the body was fighting back faster than it should, stronger than it should. New proteins appeared. In the blood defenses no computer could predict. It was not immunity, it was adaptation. Dr. Elian Kaur stared at the results for hours, hands trembling. He realized the humans were changing in real time, each exposure shaping them, each sip of soup rewriting. "Them," he whispered into his recorder. "We are not immune. We are evolving." When the alien spies stole fragments of these recordings, they delivered them to their commander. He listened in silence, then crushed the device in his hand. He knew what it meant. His weapon had failed, but worse than failure, he had given the humans a gift on the assassin flagship. The crew watched another feed, this time from orbit. A human broadcast beamed to nearby colonies. It showed the plaza filled with tables, soldiers, civilians, children, all holding bowls. The banner above them read "Spicy Soup Festival." The crowd cheered, coughing, laughing, music rising louder and louder. The assassins who had meant to end them had instead given them a holiday. The commander felt rage burning in his chest, but also something else, an unspoken terror, because if humans could twist death into a festival, what could they do with true weapons? What could they do with war itself? Back on the colony, night deepened. Mara Vey walked the streets, seeing lights glow in windows, hearing laughter echo across the mist, but she felt something heavier beneath it all, a weight she could not shake. She remembered the first burning in her chest, how close it felt to death. She knew the toxin was not harmless, no matter how much people laughed. She whispered to herself, "They will try again, and next time it will be worse." In the void, the assassins gathered around their commander. He looked at each of them, his voice cold as stone. The humans. "Mock us, they turn our blade into food, but we will not stop. We will craft new poisons, stronger, deadlier, sharper. And when we release them, the humans will not laugh." The crew nodded, but doubt lingered in their eyes. None dared to speak it aloud, the question that haunted them. What if the humans laugh forever? The story of spicy soup spread across the stars. Empires that once ignored humanity now studied them. Allies began to question if perhaps humans were destined for something greater. Enemies began to fear that no weapon could hold them in check. On the poisoned colony, fires still burned, songs still rose, laughter still echoed through the night. But somewhere deep beneath the joy, a quiet tension grew, because everyone knew this was only the beginning. The assassins would return, and the next strike would be far worse. Mara stood at the edge of the colony, looking at the green sky, her eyes watering from the burn in the air. She raised her empty bowl and whispered, "Let them come. We will drink again." The mist still hung heavy over the colony weeks after the first strike. The green glow no longer frightened the people. Instead, it had become part of their lives. They walked through it as if it were nothing, coughing, sometimes laughing, other times carrying bowls and bottles to collect it. Merchants now displayed jars filled with the shimmering liquid, each one labeled with a simple phrase, "Spicy soup." The assassins could not understand it. They had left spies hidden in the colony, and every new report was worse than the last. Instead of panic, they saw joy. Instead of bodies, they saw trade. A substance meant to erase. An entire world had become currency. One spy reported that humans were selling glowing mist to off-world traders, who had come to see the miracle with their own eyes. Mara had turned her small home into a shop every evening. She placed bowls of soup mixed with droplets of toxin on the counter, and lines of people gathered outside. She never expected profit from death, but the colony wanted it, and she provided. One evening, a trader from another human colony approached her. He asked, "How do you drink this without fear?" Mara lifted her bowl, eyes red from the burn, and answered, "Because we are human." The trader carried the story home, and soon across the stars the legend grew. Humans drink poison, humans laugh at death, humans turn the end of worlds into soup. The assassins listened to these rumors spreading through the galaxy. Their commander stood silent, watching holograms of alien news feeds, each one repeating the same unbelievable claim. Their weapon had not killed it, had created a festival. One assassin said, "Maybe the humans are lying." Another answered, "Then explain why traders return," coughing. And smiling, the commander's silence grew heavier with each passing hour. On the colony, the celebration grew larger. The governor tried again to warn the people about danger, but he too was seen sipping from a bowl, his speech drowned out by cheers. And music soon. The plaza filled every night. Travelers arrived to witness it themselves and to taste the soup. They too coughed. They too cried from the burn, but they left alive and amazed. The assassins decided to test for themselves. 3 of their kind disguised in cloaks entered the colony. At dusk, they blended with the crowd, slipping between fires and stalls until they reached a table where a soldier poured bowls for visitors. One assassin, pretending to be a trader, accepted a bowl, the green liquid steaming hot. He brought it close to his face. The smell stung his nose and burned his eyes. Yet the humans around him laughed, urging him to taste. He forced a sip. The liquid scorched his throat. He choked and staggered to the ground. The humans clapped him on the back, thinking he was only reacting as they had. He stumbled away before his lungs collapsed. Back aboard his ship, his body writhed. The toxin worked, as it always had. His skin burned, his blood thickened, his voice broke. Until he gasped his last, His companions watched with horror. They realized what the council had feared was true. The poison still killed everyone except humans. When the report reached the commander, he smashed his table with one strike, shouting, "They drink what kills us all. Do you not see they are not like us?" The crew shivered. None dared meet his eyes, for they all knew the truth was heavier than any weapon. On the colony, Mara noticed new faces every day, not just humans, but other species too. Cautious ones, curious ones. They stood at the edge of the plaza, afraid of the mist, yet fascinated by the laughter. One evening, a small group of merchants from a reptilian world approached her stall. They did not drink, but they watched as she lifted her bowl. Their translator asked, "Why do you risk your life for taste?" Mara smiled. "We do not risk our lives, we claim them." News of the festival spread so far that even distant rulers began to wonder if humanity was untouchable empires that once ignored them, now considered treaties empires that feared them, now planned for defense. Because if poison could not kill them, what weapon could? But the assassins could not rest their pride, broken, their reputation shattered. The commander gathered his scientists. He ordered them to design something new, something beyond poison, a toxin that would burn not just flesh, but spirit. He swore that the humans would not laugh forever. His scientists trembled but obeyed. Back on the colony, the scientists who studied the toxin grew more alarmed each day. Dr. Elian Kaur spent sleepless nights in his lab, studying blood samples. He saw how quickly the human body was changing new proteins, forming new defenses, growing at a speed biology should never allow. He whispered into his recorder again, "We are not immune. We are changing." He feared what this change might bring, yet no one listened outside. The people only laughed. One evening, as fires lit the mist and drums echoed through the air, Mara stood on a platform holding a bowl high. She looked at the stars, knowing assassins were out there watching. She shouted to them, "Thank you for your gift." The crowd roared, the sound rolling through the green fog like thunder. In the hidden corners of the galaxy, alien leaders watched this footage with dread. They whispered, "If humans can eat poison and live, what will they do in war?" Some suggested peace, some suggested surrender before conflict even began, but others whispered darker thoughts. Maybe humans were never truly mortal. Maybe they were becoming something beyond the galaxy's understanding. The assassins felt this whisper. Most of all, their spies brought word of new human strength, soldiers running longer, fighting harder, enduring more than ever before, all because of the toxin instead of ending humanity. They had sharpened it. The commander clenched his fists and vowed, "We will not allow this mistake to stand. We will craft a storm that no human can laugh at." But even as he spoke in rage, the colony sang in joy. Music, drums, coughing, laughter blending into one great sound. A defiant voice against the dark Mara raised her bowl again. Her eyes burning, her throat raw, but her smile unbroken. She whispered to herself, "Let them come again. We will drink until they understand." The green mist had become part of the world. It no longer frightened the humans. Instead, it shaped their days. The air burned their throats and lungs, but they breathed it anyway. Their eyes watered as they worked in fields or walked in markets, but still they laughed at night. The glow shimmered above their fires, while music and voices echoed across the colony. The assassins who had created the mist watched in silence from the black ships hidden far above. They had expected silence and death. Instead, they saw markets, festival soldiers training in the fog like it was nothing. The commander stood before the viewing window, his dark face set in a mask of fury. He remembered all the centuries of science, all the lives spent designing the perfect toxin, a weapon that had ended entire species, now reduced to a human joke, spicy soup. Rumors had spread beyond the colony. Ships carried the story across trade routes. Aliens spoke of humans who ate poison and smiled of soldiers who drank death and joked about the flavor. Some said it was a lie, but those who traveled to the colony saw the truth with their own eyes. Traders returned coughing with burned throats but still alive. They carried bottles of glowing liquid and told everyone what they had seen. Fear spread. Faster than fleets in council chambers across the galaxy, leaders spoke in whispers. If humans can survive poison, what else can they survive if they laugh at death? What weapon remains? The myths of humanity grew larger than ever before. Stories painted them as unkillable as monsters in human skin, as survivors of anything. Mara Vey felt this change even in the streets of her colony. More off-world visitors arrived every day. Some only watched from a distance, afraid to breathe the mist. Others brave, or foolish enough to try just one sip. They coughed, they choked, they burned, and the humans clapped them on the back and laughed. The visitors left with stories that spread far beyond the stars. But not everyone was laughing in hidden rooms. Human. Scientists studied blood samples. They looked at lungs burned and healed. They saw immune systems shifting faster than any textbook could explain. Dr. Elian Kaur watched his monitors with wide eyes. The toxin was not harmless. It was killing cells, shredding tissue, yet the body rebuilt itself stronger each time. The adaptation was real, visible, and terrifying. He whispered into his recorder, "If this continues, humans will not only survive, they will become something new." One night, Elian left his lab and walked into the glowing streets. He saw families eating bowls of soup, coughing and laughing together, as though death itself was a game. He wanted to shout at them, to warn them that change always has a cost. But the joy was too heavy, too powerful. No one would listen. Above them, the assassin commander gathered his scientists. He demanded answers. Why had the toxin failed? Why did humans not fall like every other species? His scientists stammered and showed him recordings of human biology, their cells breaking and healing, their bodies refusing to stop adapting. He stared at the images in silence and then whispered, "They are not immune. They are stubborn." He struck the table and ordered his fleet to prepare new weapons. But even as he planned new strikes, whispers of human survival reached deeper corners of the galaxy. A council of distant rulers debated in fear. One asked if humans can eat poison. What if they can breathe fire? Another said, what if no weapon can kill them? Another suggested perhaps it is better to ally with them before they rise too far. None found an easy answer. On the colony, fear began to creep back into the heart of some citizens. Mara noticed it one night as she stood at her stall selling bowls to travelers. Some whispered, "What if the assassins return? What if the next poison is worse?" She lifted her bowl high and told them, "Then we drink again." But even as she smiled, she felt the weight of their fear, because deep down she knew the assassins would return. The spies of the assassins remained in the colony, hidden in cloaks. They sent reports each day, telling of humans growing stronger, faster, harder, soldiers now trained by running through the mist until their lungs bled, then healed, then ran again. Children played games of who could drink the most before coughing the hardest. What had once been a weapon of terror had become a tool of endurance. The assassin commander read these reports and his fury deepened, his pride shattered. He whispered to himself, if they can turn death into food, what will they do when we bring them real war? Dr. Elian Kaur sat in his lab alone one evening, listening to the faint sounds of music outside. He stared at blood samples glowing under light. He saw the adaptation shaping itself, each new exposure changing humans further. He recorded his thoughts quietly. What happens when the body adapts too far? What happens when we become something that is no longer human? He thought of Mara, of the children laughing outside, of the soldiers training in the streets, and he shivered. The galaxy watched and waited, fear growing like a storm. Every empire measured humanity again and again. Some saw monsters, some saw allies, some saw the future itself in them. One thing Was clear. The humans had survived what no other could, and the silence around every council table carried the same unspoken thought. If poison cannot kill them, what can? On the poisoned colony, the festival carried on. Fires burned high, music filled. The night people raised bowls to the stars. Mara lifted hers with them, eyes watering, throat raw, voice steady. Let them send whatever they like, we are ready. The crowd roared in answer, the sound rolling into the green mist like thunder, defiant, unstoppable. The second wave came without warning. For weeks the colony had lived in strange celebration. The green mist had become normal. People worked, breathed, laughed, and drank bowls of soup, laced with poisoned. Soldiers trained harder than ever. Merchants sold bottles of glowing liquid to visitors who came from distant stars. But everyone knew the assassins had not truly gone. They were waiting somewhere in the dark. The sky broke open one morning, a black fleet emerging from the void. Their ships spread across the horizon like knives cutting the stars. The alarms wailed through the colony. People rushed into the streets, staring upward with wide eyes. Mara Vey stood frozen, a bowl in her hand. She whispered, "They are back." The assassins did not fire cannons. They did not send armies instead. They released another mist, darker, heavier red, instead of green. It fell like a slow storm across the world, coating the sky with burning clouds. People coughed instantly, eyes watering, lungs screaming, even the ground hissed as the red fog touched it, turning soil. Black crops, withered animals fled, screaming through the forests. The humans staggered, choking. Many fell to their knees. The assassin commander watched from orbit, his eyes sharp, his voice cold. "This one will break them." He had ordered his scientists to design a toxin sharper than the first one, not just burning, but cutting through flesh like knives. Their instruments showed the concentration lethal beyond measure. He waited for the colony to collapse on the ground. Mara dropped her bowl, clutching her throat. Her chest burned like fire, spreading through her veins. She thought for a moment that death had finally come around. Her people coughed, collapsed, and cried out. Soldiers gasped, struggling to stand, but through the pain, through the choking fire, a sound rose, laughter, broken, coughing laughter. A soldier staggered to his feet, holding his ration tin. He poured the red mist into it and forced himself to swallow. He screamed as it tore down, his throat, tears streaming down his face. Then he grinned and shouted, spicier than last time. The plaza echoed with coughing and cheers. People forced themselves to their feet, lifting bowls again. Some fell again, but others pulled them up. No one stayed. Down long, the red mist cut them, burned them, but it did not kill them. Instead, their bodies fought harder, adapting faster. Dr. Elian Kaur ran from his lab carrying scanners, shouting to anyone who would listen. "It is worse than before, it is breaking. You down, but you are fighting it faster." He stared at the readings, eyes wide, horrified and amazed. "You are changing." The assassins could not believe what their sensors showed. Human life signs dropping for moments, then rising again. Stronger lungs, repairing blood-thickening muscles, hardening the toxin, was shredding them, but they rebuilt even faster. The commander slammed his fist on the console, shouting, "Impossible." On the colony, the soldiers trained through the red storm. Commanders barked. Orders: march through it, breathe it, swallow it, endure it. They collapsed again and again, but they rose stronger. Mara stumbled through the streets, coughing until she could barely see, but she forced herself to keep moving. Keep breathing, she found. Children in the smoke, crying, and pulled them close, whispering, "Breathe with me, do not give up." That night fires still burned. Though the red mist clung heavy over everything, the festival did not stop. Bowls raised high, though voices were raw and coughing. Louder than songs, Mara stood on the platform, her face pale from exhaustion, her throat torn by the mist, but she lifted her bowl anyway. She shouted to the sky, "Spicier than soup they gave us before," and the crowd roared, their broken laughter reaching even the ships above. The assassin commander could no longer stay silent. His crew shifted nervously around him. They had watched their perfect poisons fail twice. The commander growled, "They cannot laugh forever. We will make them scream." But deep inside, even he felt the first touch of fear. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than before now. It was not just green mist, but red poison, stronger, sharper. Yet still the humans lived, still they laughed, still they mocked their enemies. Alien rulers sat in silence as they heard the reports. One whispered, "They survive everything," another answered, "Then we must never face them." Dr. Elian Kaur continued his desperate studies, his voice hoarse from the red storm. He saw the changes happening in real time, humans adapting, even faster than before. Bones, densifying muscles, strengthening lungs, rebuilding stronger with every breath. He whispered into his recorder again, "They are not immune. They are evolving with each attack." He did not know what the end of this evolution would be, but he knew one thing for certain. The assassins had made a mistake so great it could never be undone. Days passed. The red storm did not fade, but the humans learned to live in it. Children played again, coughing, laughing, daring each other to drink more of the burning liquid. Soldiers trained harder. Merchants sold bottles labeled extra spicy soup, and the legend of humanity grew even larger. Above the poisoned world, the assassin fleet lingered, watching, waiting, searching for weakness. But every hour only showed them strength and laughter. The commander clenched his fists, silent in his rage, knowing the galaxy was watching, knowing their enemies had become something far worse than before. And on the surface, under the burning red sky, Mara Vey stood with her people. Her throat raw, her lungs aching, but her spirit unbroken. She raised her bowl again and whispered, "Let them bring more, we will drink it all." The red mist did not clear it, lingered over the colony like a heavy curse, staining the sky with a dull, burning glow. Every day, the people woke with throats raw and lungs aching. Every night, they coughed themselves to sleep, yet they did not break. Instead, they grew harder, sharper. Their bodies changed in ways that frightened. Even their own scientist soldiers no longer stumbled during drills. They marched through the thick poison as if it were only smoke. Children played games in the toxic fog, daring each other to drink more of it, laughing even as their voices cracked. Mara Vey walked among them, seeing their red eyes and coughing smiles, feeling both pride and dread. The assassins watched from orbit, unable to understand their senses, showed human life signs, holding steady, even rising in strength, while the land beneath them turned black, and dead plants crumbled. Animals fell silent, yet the humans thrived. The commander clenched his hands behind his back, silent fury boiling inside his thin frame. His crew whispered to each other, wondering if the humans could ever be killed at all. In a hidden chamber of the flagship, the assassin scientists showed their commander secret reports, images of human cells under attack by the toxin, then repairing themselves faster than the poison could spread each time. Stronger each time, different. The commander stared at the recordings until his voice finally broke in a harsh whisper. "They should be dead. What keeps them alive?" One scientist, trembling in fear, answered, "It is not resistance. It is, will they refuse? To stop they bend and bend, but do not break." Meanwhile, in the colony, Dr. Elian Kaur struggled with his own fear. He sat hunched over microscopes, staring at blood samples glowing faintly red under his instruments. He saw the mutations spreading at speeds biology had no right to allow. He recorded, his voice low and shaky. "It is no longer only survival. It is transformation. Every hour they are becoming something new." He pressed his hands to his face, whispering, "What happens when they finish changing?" 1. Nigmara was summoned by the colony leaders. They sat together in a dark room, air filters buzzing weakly against the storm. Outside, their faces lined with exhaustion. One of them said, "The assassins will not stop. They will return with worse weapons." Mara nodded, her throat burned too badly to speak for a moment. Finally she rasped, "Then we will face it again," another asked. But what if the next time we cannot laugh? She looked at them, her eyes fierce. We will laugh until the last breath, that is who we are. The assassins made their move. Soon after, a smaller ship dropped through the mist and landed outside the colony. Soldiers surrounded it, weapons ready. But instead of an army, a single prisoner was pushed forward. An alien scientist, his hands bound, his eyes wide. He shouted in broken human speech, "Do not kill me, I can tell you truth." He was dragged to a chamber where Mara and the leaders waited. He begged to speak. He told them the assassins had argued in secret. Some wanted to unleash more poisons, others wanted to retreat in fear. He confessed he had worked on the toxin itself. He whispered, "I must know how you live, what makes you stand when all others fall." Mara stared at him, her voice hoarse but steady. "We are not immune. We are stubborn. We do not quit." The scientist trembled, his dark eyes wide. He whispered in horror, "Then you cannot be beaten." The words spread through the colony, carried from soldier to worker to child. Everyone repeated them. "We do not quit." The phrase became like a shield stronger than steel. On the flagship, the commander demanded the return of his captured scientist, but none came. He raged and ordered more weapons prepared, yet doubt gnawed at his crew. They had seen the humans laugh at death twice. They had seen them turn poison into soup festivals, songs and legends. One officer whispered to another, "If we strike again and they still rise." "What then?" the other answered. "Then the galaxy will no longer fear us. They will only fear them, back in the colony." Mara stood on the platform again, lifting her bowl. The red mist swirled around her eyes, watering throat raw. Her voice cracked but strong to the stars and to those who tried again. "Thank you for the spice." The crowd roared, broken laughter mixed with coughs, but still proud, still alive. That night, Dr. Elian Kaur sat alone in his lab, watching the blood samples shift and glow. He whispered into his recorder, "The assassins have failed, but they have also changed us forever. Humanity is no longer what it was. I do not know if that is victory or something far darker." He pressed the stop button and sat in silence, listening to the faint echo of laughter from the streets outside. In the void, the assassin commander stood at his window, staring down at the poisoned world, his own body shaking with rage. Yet somewhere deep inside, he felt fear for the first time. He whispered to himself, "What kind of enemy turns death into dinner? What kind of monster laughs at poison and grows stronger?" No answer. Came only silence, broken by the sound of human laughter drifting faintly through the stars. The red skies had grown quiet, but the quiet was not peace. It was the silence of something waiting, something hidden deep in the poisoned clouds. The colony still stood, its people coughing, yet walking, working, yet laughing. The assassins had left, but no one trusted that they were truly gone. Mara Vey stood on the ridge above the settlement, staring out into the fog. Her eyes stung and her chest burned. But her mind refused to rest. The assassins would not accept defeat, not after their pride had been wounded so deeply. She whispered to herself, "They are planning something worse." In the command chamber of the assassin flagship, the commander paced like a shadow across the glowing floor. His crew watched in silence, afraid to speak. He had thrown cups and shattered screens in his fury. His voice cut like knives when he finally spoke. "They are not prey. They are not even rivals. They are something. Else if we do not end them now, they will become the end of us." One officer trembled and asked how the commander turned his burning eyes upon him with a voice low and sharp. "We do not poison this time. We burn the entire world." The words spread like infection across the crew. Some nodded, eager to erase the humiliation. Others hesitated, whispering among themselves, "If they burn this world, what happens if the humans survive fire as they survived poison? What happens if they rise again, stronger?" Back on the poisoned colony, Dr. Ilian Kaur studied new samples. The blood shimmered with a strange glow. He leaned closer, whispering, "This is not only resistance, this is change." He saw human cells binding with toxin, reshaping into something new. His heart pounded as he realized they were no longer merely surviving, they were adapting. Mara entered the lab. Her voice rasped. "What did you find?" He lifted the slide for her to see. "They are becoming something that should not exist. Something even the assassins will fear." Mara clenched her jaw, her voice low. "Then we will use it." The doctor shook his head. "Afraid it is not a weapon, it is evolution, and once it finishes, there is no going back." She looked at him with fire in her eyes. "Then maybe that is the only way forward." The mist outside thickened. The ground trembled, as if the planet itself sensed the danger above. The assassins were preparing their weapon ships, loading with incendiary cores, each strong enough to ignite oceans. The commander watched. In silence, his hands tight on the railing, his mind dark. He whispered to himself, "If fire does not kill them, then nothing in the stars ever will." Down in the colony, the people gathered again. Mara stood before them, her voice hoarse but strong. "The assassins will return. They will not poison this time. They will burn, and they will think fire is enough." She lifted her bowl of soup, steam rising in the poisoned air. "But we will stand. We will not break." The crowd erupted, coughing, laughter, and rough cheers, their voices echoing through the mist like a challenge to the stars. Night fell red and black. The colony slept uneasy. Yet ready soldiers patrolled with weapons, civilians sealed homes as best they could. The children whispered to each other about fire from the sky, some afraid, some daring each other to laugh at it. Mara walked the streets, feeling the heavy silence. Every face she saw was lined with strain, yet also lit with pride. Above them, the assassins prepared for the strike. Countdowns began, engines hummed. The commander closed his eyes and whispered, "May." The flames erased their laughter. The order was given. The weapons began to fall. Sirens screamed across the colony. People rushed to shelters, the sky lit with burning streaks, falling closer, brighter, faster. Mara stood on the ridge, staring up at the fiery rain, her heart hammering. She whispered, "This is it. This is the test." Dr. Kaur ran beside her, gasping, "If the fire reaches the toxin in the air, it could ignite everything." She looked at him and said, "Then we hold the line, we do not bend." The first fireball struck the ground. A wall of heat ripped across the land. Buildings shook, glass shattered, people screamed. But when the smoke cleared, the colony still stood. The poisoned air itself absorbed the flames, twisting the fire into strange spirals. Of red and black light, the crowd gasped, but no one fell. The next fireball came, then another explosion shook the earth again and again. But each time the humans rose, coughing, covered in ash, but alive. On the flagship, the commander's face twisted. In disbelief, reports shouted from every console. The fire spreads, but they still live. They walk through it, they breathe it. The commander slammed his fist into the console and screamed. How back on the ground, Mara and Kaur saw the truth, the toxin. In their blood, the very poison meant to kill them was now shielding them. Their bodies glowed faintly in the firelight, veins shimmering red and gold. The children laughed, running into the hot wind, their hair whipping like flames. The soldiers roared, charging through burning debris as if it were nothing. Mara lifted her bowl high into the burning night, her voice carrying above the roar, "Thank you, assassins, for seasoning the soup." The people erupted into laughter, even as fire rained around them. Their voices louder than the explosions. The assassins had given them poison. They had turned it into strength. The assassins had given them fire. They had turned it into festival. The humans danced in the flames, their skin glowing, their lungs burning, but unbroken. On the flagship, silence fell, every officer pale. The commander stared at the screens, his eyes wide, his voice hollow. "They cannot be destroyed," one whispered. "Then they are no longer human. They are something greater," another said then. "They are gods." The commander sank into his chair, his pride broken, his war lost. He whispered, "Not gods, not monsters. Something worse. They are humans, and they will never stop." In the burning night, the colony gathered around Mara. They lifted bowls of soup filled with firelit broth and drank together, their eyes red, their bodies glowing, their voices united in laughter. The mist swirled, the flames danced, and the stars above seemed to listen. Dr. Kaur sat apart, recording his voice, quiet and grim. The assassins tried poison and failed. They tried fire and failed each time. Humanity did not only survive, they changed. They grew stronger. If the assassins try again, they will only feed the fire that makes us what we are. He paused, looking at the people laughing in the flames, his voice low and certain. This is no longer survival. This is the birth of something new. And above, in the silent dark, the galaxy watched, holding its breath, as the humans laughed at fire.